Today we're gonna have a really fun little geography exploration. This is gonna be like a fun facts type of video. This is gonna be a fun one because I know for a fact there is a lot of people out there. In fact, I'd say majority of people out there in almost any country have no idea about the true size, let alone true latitudes, longitudes, and things like that of various locations compared to others. And in fact, it's always considered to be really shocking and something that people a lot of times will laugh at in awe when they find out these different little facts. So come with me on this little adventure. It's going to be fun. So a lot of people don't know this, and I find this to be really freaking funny and cool. And it's funny because a lot of people I've told this to have no belief about it until they look it up themselves, and they're like, "You're kidding." But the UK is not only smaller than a handful of states within the United States. Of course, the obvious ones are Texas and California, Alaska, but Oregon is actually bigger in land area than the entirety of the United Kingdom is. For real. The UK is smaller than the entire state of Oregon is in just land area alone. If you actually look at this, you can actually tell because Oregon is extremely bulky. If you look at Oregon in total square miles, it's 98,380, and it's actually the square kilometers. That's 254. That makes way more sense, doesn't it? 254,805 square kilometers in land area, whereas the UK itself is just 5,000 or so smaller than Oregon is, which is crazy cool, and you would never expect it. Another fun fact is if you lay a longitudinal line from Toronto across, like perfectly across, its degree of latitude or longitude, I can't remember which one it is that goes east-west because I'm dyslexic. It is actually, in fact, you can roughly do it just by hand. Even with a slightly shaky hand, you can actually see how much further south Toronto is from Portland, Oregon, which is super funny. In fact, Portland is actually over 2 degrees further north than Toronto, Ontario, Canada is, which is super funny because everybody thinks, oh, everything Canada, including Toronto, is like way further north than probably Portland or other places like that are. Going back to the comparison to the United Kingdom, Oregon is one of 11 total states in the United States that are actually bigger in land area than the entirety of the UK. And you got to remember, the UK isn't just Great Britain, the main island, and of course Northern Ireland. It's also the Isle of Man. It's also Jersey and Guernsey, what known as the Channel Islands, which is right over here. It's also the Shetland Islands, and also Orkney. And yet, there's 11 whole states that are bigger than it, which is just crazy and really fun. Here's a fun time. Did you know that France is about the only nation in the entire world that is almost on every single continent? It's true. You wouldn't think so, but it is. Or when I say on, I should say that includes the shelves of the continents. So technically, islands off of the mainland continents count, obviously. So in this case, France, something people forget is they don't just have metropolitan France, which is, of course, I didn't ask, mainland France within Europe. France also has Saint Miquelon, which is North America. France also has, of course, a couple of islands on the African continent, mainly Reunion and Mayotte. Naturally, they also have one on South America, Sudamerica, which is, of course, Guyana. They have, of course, two within Caribas, the Caribbean, and that is Guadeloupe and, of course, Martinique. And, of course, they also have Clipperton. That's an island people consistently forget even exists on this earth. She's many hundreds of miles, technically, off of the coast, the west coast of Baja California, but it is relatively speaking on a global scale, pretty dang close to Mexico in the first place. But they have Clipperton Island. That is actually one of their wholly owned islands. And they have still a heavy amount of influence over New Caledonia in Oceania. So it's extremely interesting to know that they nearly have some piece of land that they have jurisdiction over on almost every single major continent on Earth, which is crazy to think that they still do. Oh yes, and they also have the French Antarctic territories as well. Here's a really fun one. Have you ever heard of Bouvet Island? Yes, it was originally touched by the French and they decided to place their name on it and then left. And the Norwegians came and got it. Go figure. But yeah, Bouvet Island is actually Norwegian and has been for a very long time. And it actually pretty much adds up because it's freaking Norse, it's Norwegian. They belong in these super icy, clay shaded, cold, snowy places that are remote. And yeah. So Norway technically exists in the northern and southern hemispheres at the same time. And that is the extremes of the northern and southern hemispheres. Norway literally has territory both in the South Pole and also around the North Pole. So within the Antarctic and Arctic circles, which is wild to think that they can literally say they're the only place in the world that has a place with a persistent population both in the North and South Pole, which is crazy cool. So they got both polar bears and penguins. Fun fact for you. The Norwegian flag flies in the Antarctic Ocean just as it does the Arctic. Crazy cool. Also, Bouvet Island is definitely a place I would love to be able to visit at some point, even though I'd have to be stuck there for probably at least a solid 6 months straight. But look at this sucker. Crazy cool. There's your freaking tip of Antarctica. There's Bouvet. It's really freaking awesome. Look at this. Macaroni penguins, baby. It's so cool. God, I love it. And it's such a beautiful island, too. It's just crazy. Now, here's a fun fact that'll piss off your geography teachers and all geography experts around the world. And if you consider yourself a geography expert, even if you're armchair, I guarantee you're going to lose your mind about this. But you've been lied to. There's no such thing as a European continent. Europe has never been a continent. It is not a continent, and it never will be a continent. Israel is known as a subcontinent. And in fact, it's literally in the name of the whole continent that it belongs to, which is Eurasia. Asia itself is not a continent, nor is Europe. They are subcontinents of the main continent that together they make. Just like Arabia is. You know what it is? Yep, Eurasia. Why do you think it's called Eurasia? It's called Eurasia. E-U-R-A-S-I-A. Because it is literally made up of both the subcontinent of Europe, EUR, and the subcontinent of Asia, ASIA, Eurasia. That is the only continent that exists in that context. So every single time you're taught, and every single time you read, and every single time you're told, and every single time you insist that Europe is a continent, it actually is not a continent at all. Therefore, technically, they lie to you. There's not 7 continents. There was only 6. In fact, to say that Europe is its own continent and not a subcontinent of Eurasia is akin to arguing that Central America or the Caribbean are their own continents and not subcontinents of the Americas. Because we all know Central America is not North America and it is not South America. It is a subcontinent of both Americas. You know what? The last one I'll leave you off with. Did you know that Chile owns and governs the legendary and historic Easter Island? It's true. All those Easter Island heads belong to Chile. It's true. Incredibly far from Chile and thus South America itself. It's technically part of Polynesia. It's crazy. In fact, yep, I was right. See, there's the Pitcairn Islands. Pitcairn Islands, Angaroa, Easter Island. And then there's Chile. It's closer to frickin' Britain than it is to, to Chile. And you'd never expect it to be. I wonder what this island is. I didn't know that there was more islands out here. How come we're never taught about these? Oh, that's disgusting. The Chile even owns these guys. Robinson Crusoe. I, Calypso, I sing to your spirit. You served me so long and so well. La la la, me, boop, boop, boop. Isla Alejandro Selkirk. One of those is not like the other. Okay, new idea. I want to visit these islands because, think about it, ain't nobody heard of these islands before, pretty much, except for probably researchers. And I kind of want to visit them now. That'd be really cool. I doubt they're patrolled very much either, if at all. It doesn't look like they use it for military because they're too mountainous, so that's fun. I did not know those existed. Holy shit, I learned something new today. That's so cool. Alright, well anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what ones of these you think is the most surprising, and what ones you might want to see in another video potentially in the future, or at the very least ones you find the most fun and would love to mention as well, that you think people would be the most stunned and unlikely to think and hear of. I think it would be incredibly fun, so feel free to leave a comment down below and join in the fun. With that said, thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope to see you in the next video. Stay safe out there. I'll see you around.